Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Gersnet Podcast, the independent Rangers podcast by fans for fans, where all the content is absolutely free, coming to you in association with Forest Precision Engineering. I'm your host tonight, Brian Archer, and as we always say, not only do we have the podcast, guys, but we've also got the articles and the forums on the website, so be sure to check out those as well. I'm joined tonight with my guest, Alex Anderson. However, for a change, we're not going to be discussing all the latest action from the World Cup, and instead we're going to be looking ahead to the first competitive match of the Michael Beale era, which comes tomorrow night against Hibs at what is predicted to be a very cold Ibrox stadium. Alex, how you doing? This is a bit of a strange one for us, two on a pod and not discussing the World Cup. How much are you looking forward to seeing Rangers in competitive action for the first time under Michael Beale? And crucially, have you got your thermals looked out for tomorrow night?
I'm demanding. I know you were after one of these blankets tomorrow night. I'm after a blanket as well, and I think we should have the Bovril and the steak pies on tap tomorrow. It's a total health risk tomorrow. I mean, my head's spinning. We'll be doing these pods about the World Cup, and we'll be starting them a bit of Rangers chat. And now we're doing a Rangers pod, and I'm finding myself wanting to talk about the World Cup semi-final, which, as we've recorded, has just finished. We now know it's a France Argentina final. I'm a bit like I know I dress like an old tramp, but I'm like Wuzzle Gummidge. I don't know if you remember Wuzzle Gummidge. He used to, before your time, it was that kids' TV programme. He was an old scarecrow that used to change his head, interchangeable heads, when he to talk about different subjects and all that. And that's what I've got to take the World Cup head off and then put the Rangers one back on. So, yes, looking forward to a return to competitive action for the Teddy Bears, Brian, and really looking forward to tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm a bit disappointed I can't make the game because I've got a works night out. So if any of our listeners wants to grab me one of those blankets, I'm hoping it's a Rangers branded blanket. That'd be much appreciated.
He's been denied.
Anyway, we'll get into previewing tomorrow's game. First thing that I wanted to speak about was the game against Leverkusen and just how much can we take from that in terms of the performance and the style of play. For me, there was a noticeable difference in tempo and pressing actions, and I'm just wondering how much should we read into that, given that it was just a friendly.
Michael Beale himself was kind of keen to tell us not to read too much into it. Other than a few, was it red flags he called them? A few things that had gone wrong. He didn't like. His press conferences have been very, very interesting. He gives good pressers, does Michael. We'll see how that translates onto the pitch. And he did me straight away. I did one of these wee post-match reaction pods that we sometimes do in Gersnet after the Leverkusen game. I stood outside saying the only thing we could tell for sure was that we were desperate at centre half. We only had Sands and Leon King available at centre half. And while I was saying that outside Ibrox, Michael Beale was inside Ibrox, dropping big hints that Davis and Goldson were back in training on Monday, and we're going to be having a chance of making it. I don't know how much of that is trying to kind of out-psych the Hibs management team, or just I think he's very keen to start with a sense of momentum, Michael Beale, and get everybody on side and get a kind of bit of optimism about the place. But reading between the lines, my old mucker Ronnie Espen asked him today in today's pre-Hibs match presser, are Goldson and Davis going to be in the squad? And he said, no, he wasn't going to confirm that. He couldn't confirm if they're going to be in the squad. He says we're back in training, so they're available for selection perhaps. But reading between the lines, it sounds like he's maybe going to bring one or both on as subs later on if we're doing well in the game. Making 7 changes other than we're back 4 at half time in that game against Leverkusen just really confused the hell out of me. I have no idea. I'm not going to go ahead and guess what his lineup's going to be tomorrow or anything like that. We'll get a few clues, but I think the main thing we can take, which is something that should have happened anyway, even if Gio had still been the manager. The players have been off for a month, almost exactly a month since that horrible result in Paisley, which saw Gio relieved of his duties, and they look sharper. They should look sharper anyway, but there definitely was a bit more kind of bounce about them. Again, as Beale's keen to say, Bayer Leverkusen are really deep in their kind of extended winter break, so we couldn't read too much into the fact that we put 3 goals past them. But all you can do is beat what's in front of you. Steven Gerrard also had a great record in friendlies. He used them to build up momentum when the pre-season friendlies. Yeah. But we looked sharp, mate. And the one for me was Alfredo Morelos looked a bit thinner. He looked as if he's kind of getting ready to impress the new manager, as Alfredo is wanting to do. So all kind of criticism of Alfredo aside, that is, just objectively a good thing if he's ready to get back into action. But I don't know how much we can actually take from it, other than, the players have had a good break, they look sharp, and they're ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, your point on Morelos kind of brings me on to my next point that we talk around some of the kind of selection dilemmas that he's got. One of the ones for me that will be interesting will be, does he go with Morelos or Cholak up top? I don't know what you think on it. Personally, I think Morelos looked hungry against Leverkusen. He looked a bit sharper, a bit more like he was back to his old self in terms of being able to bully a defence. He set up Arfield's goal. I think he won the penalty as well. So he definitely looked, hungrier and leaner, as you say, and sharper, and like he was kind of ready to get back into action.
All the best bits of Alfie were on display. He had the cynicism that can sometimes lead to him just not being interested and thinking he can work a transfer for himself. It was the right kind of cynicism this time in the way he went down for the penalty. It just took a slight nudge from the Dutch kind of wing back that played for Leverkusen, and down he went. I think it was a really soft penalty, but he did well to win, is it? And then it was typical Alfie with his back to goal, holding off a centre half, and he hits the deck, but he's still squaring it beautifully into the path of Scott Arfield. So he was back to being the Alfie that we love, and I think this is the whole thing with Michael Beale taking over. We know what happened under Gio. Alfredo scored the first 2 goals under Gio, and that night against Sparta Prague, Gio's first match in charge. He was fantastic, and that spell that we went on, I think Gio won his first 7 games in charge in the league, and I think we only conceded in maybe one of those games. And Alfie was front and centre of that kind of march to a 6-point lead or whatever it was at that winter break. So I'm looking at, we have to get to that point again almost. We need to start like that. We need to start. I'll take that, even if it's just a case of them all trying to impress the new manager before the shenanigans start again. But I'm kind of hoping that it lasts longer than that. I think the proof will be in the pudding, 2 or 3 months down the line, if they can maintain some sort of form. But the first thing we've got to do is make sure we do get new manager bounce again. And Alfie looks like he wants to be part of that. He was ready to bounce in the right way, not because his guts bouncing about, but because he's up for the game again.
Yeah, he did look up for it. The kind of Morelos versus Cholak headache that Beale's got, it's probably a nice headache for him to have, but another kind of position that's probably a bit less of a nice headache for him to have is at left back. We're kind of short on options just now. I think Ridvan's still injured. I don't think there was anything spoken about him at the press conference in terms of when he might be back. And obviously Borna's still away with Croatia. I know they got eliminated, but he'll still be over there for the 3rd place playoff. So Adam Devine obviously played against Leverkusen. That's probably not his natural position. He's more of a right full back. But would you be comfortable with him playing there against Hibs, or would you prefer we try and find another solution, be that a back 3, which I don't think he was particularly keen to play, or maybe playing somewhere else in that position, or would you be quite happy to see Devine play there?
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen at all. I'm reasonably comfortable with Adam Devine. I think it's because we're playing Hibs and we're playing at Ibrox, and I think there'll be such a sense of kind of positivity. I don't know how long it will last, but there'll be a positivity tomorrow night. And that's one thing I think the Leverkusen friendly helped. There wasn't a big crowd there. I thought that some of the kind of vitriol, that was online about Gio, you would have thought there was going to be a kind of sense of celebration almost when Michael Beale stepped up as our new manager, and a lot of people very, very noisy about wanting to get rid of Gio. And I thought there might have been a bigger crowd there on Saturday. I know it wasn't on the season ticket as such, but I thought there'd be a bigger crowd there on Saturday to welcome our new manager. I know it's cold, I know it's coming up to Christmas, and people are maybe more interested in being at home for Portugal were playing Morocco in the the tea time kickoff in the World Cup that night. So I don't know, but I felt as if there could have been more kind of sense of momentum. But the one thing that's happened is we won the game 3-0. We're going into this with this real kind of a bit of confidence tomorrow night at least, and that should see Adam Devine through. Other solutions, I mean, I'm showing my age here, and it's something we don't even contemplate, is the idea that the established right back could go in to left back. But can you imagine trying to play James Tavernier at left back when he's so effective as an attacking force down the wing? I think Adam Devine's he's played well anytime he's stepped up. He was very good. It's been said, I was saying it after the game on Saturday, he was up against Moussa Diaby in that first half, kind of PSG graduate.
watched the first half, I thought he did really well. I thought he acquitted himself really well for playing on his wrong side, even getting forward. I always remember John Flanagan as a right footer playing on left back, and I always thought he never ever looked comfortable going forward because he always used to bring the ball on his right foot because that was his natural thing. But I thought Devine, even going forward, he wasn't as blunt as a Flanagan was, for example.
It's concerning. I think it's particularly concerning. I think we can always fit somebody in, but I think we can always fit a youngster into the defence if the rest of the teams, it's the first teamers that are in. But we're already Leon King. Good news that he's maybe going to sign a contract extension. But would be quite happy to see young Leon getting a bit of a break. I know he's had one in terms of being off for a month, but he started great down at Anfield. He had a decent night down at Anfield. That was a hell of a kind of baptism. But then it got to the point like the St Mirren game where he had that horrible head injury, but we're all glad he's recovered from. But he was, and against Ajax in the last Champions League group match at Ibrox, he's doing that thing where he's just kind of standing, watching the ball and kind of guiding it into the net. I feel terrible having a go at him, but he's just been thrown in too deep too early. And we've got James Sands, who's essentially playing out of position if he's going to be playing centre half tomorrow night. So you're looking at basically three positions in the defence, all being, not unstable, but guys who shouldn't be there at this stage of the season. Yeah. Hibs, I'm hoping they'll be struggling to find their form, so there maybe not be too much of a threat. So I don't know, you're talking about three at the back of them. He might maybe even drop Lundstrom back in there or something and get Adam Devine pushed up so he's more about, an attacking threat, a kind of wing back, as opposed to out and out defending. But when I was a lad, it was in a situation like this. You're right back. If it was a seasoned professional as Tavares, he would go over and just take. He could take over and put the young boy in at his position, the position he's more comfortable in. Have young Adam in at right back, but I'm hoping it's not going to be a great issue tomorrow night. I am slightly more concerned, as you say. Borna will definitely be involved in the third, fourth place playoff at the World Cup, so he'll be in Qatar on Saturday at least. I don't know if he's going back to Croatia first or whatever, but Aberdeen at Pittodrie, it's not a game I would be comfortable seeing young Adam Devine playing out of position in. But I would love to have Borna back for that, but I don't know if it'd be too quick for him. He's only played one game at this World Cup, Borna. So
I've heard FIFA have issued unofficial guidance about players that reach the finals stages of the tournament, so either the quarterfinals, semi-finals or final, getting 2 weeks off. I don't think it's official guidance, so maybe perhaps Borna could come back and say, no, actually I want to play against Aberdeen. But I think FIFA issued unofficial guidance to say that players that kind of reach the latter stages of the tournament should be getting 2 weeks off. So that might pose a problem.
Of course, the other thing is we've all heard this in the last few days. If you've been watching Twitter, that Borna will just do whatever he wants because apparently his dad's one of the top gangsters in Croatia. So whatever Borna wants to do,
left back.
It made perfect sense when I saw. I just remembered that game against Antwerp a couple of seasons ago where he was taking the penalties. Tav had gone off injured, and Borna was taking the penalties. A couple of penalties against Antwerp, and the goalkeeper was trying to kind of out-psych him. But after it, he was in the goalie's face, and he had to get, basically Steven Gerrard during COVID. So there was no crowd there, and you could hear Steven Gerrard at the end of the game going, "Connor, get him off!" And there was Borna still, but it wasn't in that kind of, kind of pavement dancing. He's almost smiling. He's like, "No, we'll have a fight now. We will have a fight now." He got in my face, and I thought, there's something not right with Borna, but in a really good way. So he can do what he wants.
I remember him in another game squaring up to the away fans. I can't remember. I think it was a European qualifier. I want to say it was the Legia Warsaw one. I might be wrong.
Young Boys Bern, I think he did it as well, maybe.
Was it that one I'm thinking of?
Maybe not.
Up to the away section at Ibrox.
Aye, right up to the corners. Come ahead, all 3,500 of you. Fair dues, Borna. That'll do for us.
It makes more sense now.
That's it.
Yeah. It's interesting talking about the kind of issues that we have at centre half particularly. For me, that just emphasised how crucial it is that we get Goldson and Davies back as soon as possible. I know Beale said today that they're back in training and he's potentially hoping to get them minutes tomorrow, even if it's just off the bench. But I mean, getting the two back and getting a settled defence, that could be pivotal going into the next month of fixtures, couldn't it?
Absolutely. I think in James Tavernier's kind of in the presser today, he was also talking about, I think it was foremost in my mind, was Connor Golson as a leader. You just need him, have him at training and have him in the dressing room, is absolutely essential, because he's a guy who just wants to, he's got the right attitude. And I think he'd be a great cheerleader and a great kind of lieutenant for Beale and putting across everything he wants to do. And in terms of actually playing, well, I think it's a really kind of maybe a glib, maybe a slightly disingenuous way of summing it up, but we're drawing one each with Liverpool, and Connor Golson goes off and we lose 6 goals after he goes off. I think he sums up just how we overstretched ourselves in that kind of thick and fast Champions League campaign. The fact that it actually took out the one guy who's probably even more reliable than James Tavernier in terms of being fit was quite kind of dispiriting. He's been an absolutely massive loss. So I'd be really, really delighted to have him back. I don't know what Michael Beale was trying to do there. As I say, we're kind of making out that we're going to have Davis and Golson back. I think it's maybe just taking maybe trying to outpsych the Hibs management team when they're making their plans. But I don't think they'll be greatly phased by that kind of patter. I can't see them starting tomorrow night. But the sooner we can get, Davis as well. Ben Davis was coming on to a fantastic game, and they were looking. I think they had 2-3 games where they looked like a fantastic. But you can see what they're going to be. They've got a great partnership. I think that sums up a lot of the bad luck that Gio had as well. That wouldn't have helped things. But the sooner we can get them back, particularly when Beale's making big noises already about wanting to play in the front foot. We're going to be all out attack, and we're going to play like a big team. All this kind of stuff. So we're going to be going for it attacking wise. You need to make sure you get the safety valve at the back, and having those two there will allow all our players in an attacking sense to kind of just go for it with it, no worries. So the sooner we get them back, the better, mate.
Yeah. Now, looking a bit at our opponents tomorrow, Hibs, I just wanted your take on how big a threat do you think Hibs pose? Now, looking at their recent record, they've lost 4 of their last 5 in the league prior to the break. And we obviously know that, one of their main players, Martin Boyle, he's out for the rest of the season. But do we just need to be careful that we don't underestimate them and we recognise that they still can pose a threat? Or should we be looking at this game as one that, Rangers can win comfortably?
Aye, we should definitely be winning it anyway. Hibs, you've always got to kind of be careful. They have this thing, Hibs. They seem to be the team. If we're going through a bad spell, they'll be there to kind of chase that ambulance. They'll be there to kind of cash in on it. Kind of kick us when we're down. And yet we'll scalp them. Like we scalped them 6-1. A couple of seasons ago.
Yeah. Just
to kind of put them back in their place. But even 2016 Cup final was obviously the most famous kind of instance where we'd won the championship so early that we had a lack of competitive football for about a month. And Hibs, the very fact that they'd struggled and had only made the playoffs, had actually meant they were playing competitive football right up to the cup final. So they came into that game sharper and were able to take advantage of us. And I've been rubbing it in my face ever since. Before Steven Gerrard won our first Old Firm league match since we'd come back to the top flight. I think the game before that, it was Hibs at Ibrox, and we were winning 1-0 with like 5 minutes to go, and they equalised right at the end, just to kind of sicken us. So they have that in them, Hibs. They always have had this ability to just do. I think outside Celtic, Hibs are probably the team that I've seen winning at Ibrox most often, the domestic team. 3 or 4 times in my lifetime I can remember Hibs winning like 3-0 at Ibrox, 2-0, 3-1. So they have this capability. They love beating Rangers. But they don't do it as often as we'd like. We've got a great record at Easter Road, for example. But I think this season, even that 2-2 draw at Easter Road, the very fact that they were chasing the game when we were down to 9 men, and they seemed to spend so much time celebrating the fact that they'd equalised at home against 9 men, that they forgot to chase an actual winner. I think that proves a kind of essential small-mindedness that's there.
Yeah.
So I think tomorrow night, I'm hoping it's just such a kind of welcome back Michael Beale kind of sense of renewed optimism that we kind of sweep them away. But they've been in bad form. I think it's the 2 runs of 3 defeats either side of a victory over St Mirren's. It's like kind of 1 win or one game that have avoided defeat in the last 7. But they've really needed this break as well, like ourselves. So we'll need to be careful. But if we're on it, I think we should be okay.
You said quite rightly there that we really needed the break prior to the World Cup, obviously. I think we were all feeling that we just needed a bit of a break. Now, one of the last points I wanted to touch on is that historically, in the last few years, Rangers haven't been very good coming back from winter breaks. Does that concern you? And how kind of vital is it that we get off to a winning start tomorrow night, regardless of it being Michael Beale's first match? But, just thinking about previous years when we've came back from winter breaks, and also the fact that we're in a position now where we need to try and put the pressure on wherever we can, given the current points gap.
Yeah, I think it's a really strange situation all round just now. We've got this, it's a winter break, but I'm actually, because of this World Cup, because it's the time of the break's been moved forward. We're used to going, I'm still kind of instinctively expecting us to get through these 3 or 4 games of the festive period. We'll play Celtic in the 2nd of January, and then I'm kind of subconsciously expecting a month off after that. Do you know, it's really straight. I forget this is the actual winter break for Rangers. The one thing I would say is, what is it, 3, 4 out of the last 5 winter breaks have cost us. We've as you say, we've gone into it looking good. We've gone into it looking like the team to beat. And when we come back, we've collapsed. This is one time where we've gone into it looking like, in 55 season, there was no winter break. And there was no crowds either. So we just carried right on through. The one thing I would say is we're very much not, on form going into this winter break. So I'm hoping that's not reverse jinxed it kind of thing. We're terrible. Celtic are looking like they've got the league all wrapped up going into this break. I'm hoping that we can kind of reverse that, especially with it being this kind of weird time of year. We're actually starting to play football again. It's like a restart of the season in the middle of December. We've got this whole thing. We've got a new manager. Stephen Davis is a doctor all of a sudden. I didn't know how hard he'd been studying, which is quite, maybe that'll help his game now that he can put the books aside that he's got that doctorate in the bag. Quite impressive for a man of his age. We've even got a new portrait in the dressing room wall. It's kind of, there is a kind of change in the guard feeling. And I think there was such an outcry, which something kind of depressed me. I get it, understand the heaviness of the defeats under Gio. When we did lose, it was awful. But there was a real strange kind of toxicity towards Gio and the board and Ross Wilson. Everything was awful and everybody was a disgrace and everybody had to go and everybody who wasn't slagging everybody at Rangers wasn't even a Rangers supporter, I was being told. It was really awful. So I'm hoping at least we can take advantage of the fact that even the knee-jerkers, the knee-jerk loyal should be appeased tomorrow night. They should be quite happy going into this game. So we need to get it going, mate. We really need to get it going. And I don't know how everybody feels, the objectives. We've got 2 cups to play for. We're 9 points behind in the league. Is it a case of we're thinking, if Michael Beale finishes 7 points behind Celtic, is that an improvement? Is that good enough? I doubt it, because at some point to reduce the gap, we will have done well, and that means we'll then have to have a wee slip. And Gio got no. I mean, he gave us a 6-point lead. Steven Gerrard had started last season really badly. He dropped points about 4 games. Gio kind of compensated for that, but we end up losing the league by 4 points, which Steven Gerrard could be as responsible for as Gio, but Gio was getting it tight. So I think Beale knows he's going to get it tight pretty quickly if he doesn't hit the ground running. Yeah,
for me it definitely feels like there's been a bit of a cloud lifted. I'm certainly feeling more positive going into tomorrow night than I was prior to the break. I think just Michael Beale coming in seems to have breathed a bit of kind of fresh air into the place, just a bit of freshness and a bit of new ideas. And when you hear the way the players are talking in interviews, they seem to be taking on board these ideas, and there just seems to be a bit of newness about the place. Even though he's been here before, it's still, I don't know, it's got that kind of freshness feel about it.
And I'm kind of weirded out by it. I'm unsure. As I say, I definitely know that the majority of the crowd, there were people back in their seats who, weren't in their seats for a few weeks before Gio left. I know they'll be back tomorrow night, but I feel that we've established this kind of habit of, if somebody's not doing the business, they've got to go straight away. I know I myself lost faith in Gio, and I could see that the players clearly weren't enjoying what they were doing, and the manager himself, Gio, eventually just looked like a man who wanted to get out of there, you know, and it was the heaviness of the defeats, you know, losing 2 games by 4-0, you know, that doesn't happen at Rangers, you know, two straight games like that, and 7-1 to Liverpool was no, we can't be doing that. But I feel as if Michael Beale, his press conferences and that are quite interesting, but I'm not 100% convinced by them. He almost sounds like he's still trying to get the job. Like him going to that game where Gio was the manager of the Aberdeen game, you know, it's like he's like a bit of a PR campaign, and he's ticking a lot of the boxes. It's almost like he's been reading the Rangers Twitter, and he's saying we'll be on the front foot. We'll be, I might play 2 strikers together. You know, did I let that slip? You know, as if he thinks he's, you know, Alex Ferguson playing mind games. It was quite kind of weird. A bit kind of, I found it a bit clumsy at times, his part today. But if it works and it gets everybody on side, that's absolutely fine. I can't make up my mind if this is Walter Smith coming back, you know, to replace, you know, kind of Paul Le Guen halfway through 2006, 2007, or if it's Alec McLeish coming in, you know, to take over from Dick Advocaat, you know, a few years before that. It's just, it's kind of halfway through the season. We're well behind in the league. Celtic look like they're going to win the league, and we're as much planning for the following season as we're trying to do something this season. But I just want us to get in there and test Celtic, test their resolve, because there's the one thing about having a 9-point lead, and I've seen us doing it before. I think Colin was talking about this the other day. You know, I think back 86, 87, Celtic had a lead like that in the days of 2 points for a win. When you start chipping away at it, teams can get nervous. You know, they can start thinking, are we going to chuck this? And that in itself is enough to make them chuck more points. So I would like to give them a right good test, you know, and suss them out. But we'll see how it goes tomorrow night, mate. But I'm still a bit kind of reserving judgment until I see what happens.
Yeah, no, I totally get where you're coming from. Lastly from me, Alex, is if you're feeling brave, let's have a score prediction from you.
I can't even give you, the only prediction I give you is I think we're going to go with 2 sitting in midfield. I don't even know what that midfield's going to be, mate. I think Malik Tillman's going to play, but I really couldn't tell you what the score's going to be. When Walter come back, I think we beat Dundee United 5-0 in his first game back, and I think a lot of us are looking at Michael Beale. We're kind of imposing on him unfairly the kind of Walter Smith thing, that combination of he was Gerrard's assistant, the ex-Liverpool captain who won the European Cup. And we're kind of seeing him as a returning hero as well. I don't think, obviously Michael Beale's would be the first one to tell you he's no Walter Smith, but very few people are. But he's more brash. He's coming across more brash and more abrasive. Walter just kind of worked his way into the job and kind of said as little as he possibly could. I know that's me showing my age. We're now in an era of, you know, kind of Jose Mourinho and, you know, Jurgen Klopp, this kind of thing of talking big and setting this kind of tone, and players seem to buy into that, but we don't have that kind of level of player, and he certainly doesn't have that kind of level of money. So the way he's talking, we should win 3 or 4-0. And I'm thinking, but if we're looking at a guy who's going to be here long term and is going to revolutionise things, is going to get us going again in this next phase of our comeback from 2012, we're maybe better with a wee kind of tight one that keeps everybody thoroughly grounded. I'm as scared of us looking too good too quick as I am of us looking too bad. But I would guess a wee 2-goal win tomorrow night, be that 2-0 or 3-1.
I'd take that all day long. Right, guys, all that's left for me to do is remind you that the podcast is, as always, available on all your usual podcasting platforms. And as I said earlier, we've also got the articles and the forums over at the website. I'd just like to thank my guest Alex for his excellent insight and knowledge as always, and it was nice to be on a pod discussing all about Rangers and kind of leaving the World Cup chat for another day. In terms of what we've got coming up next on the network, me and Alex will be back over the coming days to look back at the semi-finals of the World Cup and look forward towards the final, and we'll have the usual Sunday pod reviewing the action tomorrow night. Until next time, guys, bye for now.